Star Wars Battlefront II. Back in 2017, Battlefront II was hyped as the next big multiplayer shooter, with its incredible multiplayer combat combined with its free maps and beautiful graphics. But players started to notice the pay-to-win ecosystem within the game through loot boxes and microtransactions. What should have been about blasters and Star Wars instead became a crash course in how not to handle live service progression. During the beta tests and up through early access, players discovered that Battlefront 2's loot crates contained gameplay-impacting star cards that improved health, damage, and weapon stats. Players estimated it could take around 40 hours of play just to unlock a single iconic hero like Darth Vader, while buying loot crates could shortcut the grind and give players with deeper pockets an advantage on the battlefield. Adding a pay-to-win microtransactions inside an $80 game is the type of greed they talked about in the Bible. But of course, it's par for the course with EA. EA hilariously defended the system by claiming it was meant to give players pride and accomplishment for earning heroes. That Reddit comment from EA community support garnered 668,000 downvotes, the most downvotes of any comment in Reddit history. The response was so BS, it accidentally created Reddit history with how atrociously disguised the actual intent behind the paywall was, which was, of course, money. The backlash was so intense that EA pulled all microtransactions hours before launch and promised to completely redesign the progression system. Loot boxes no longer granted star cards. Instead, players earned them through play and crafting, and paid boxes were relegated to cosmetics only, with real money purchases limited to direct skin buys. Even with these changes, the damage was done. Battlefront 2's reputation was tarnished at launch, regulators looked into loot box mechanics as potential gambling, and millions of players associated the title forever with greed and poor design choices. EA stopped updating the game in 2020, only a few bug fixes and maintenance here and there. Nowadays, the game averages around 4,000 concurrent players, largely due to its dedicated player base with mods and custom servers like Kyber.gg, keeping the community alive with fan-made contents. Hextech chests. Hextech chests were one of League's most beloved reward systems. It was a way for players to earn free loot simply by playing the game and performing well. You could get chests by earning mastery on champions, opening them with keys, and snagging random cosmetics like champion shards, emotes, and even full skin shards just for playing. It wasn't perfect, but it felt like a reward for time spent in the Rift. That all changed heading into Season 2025. Riot quietly began phasing out free Hextech chests, removing the ability to earn them for free entirely, leaving chests as something players could only get through Battle Pass or paywalls and keys to be obsolete without them. All those key fragments you'd amassed over hundreds of games suddenly became useless. Summoners filled every comment section, Reddit thread, League's TikTok videos. The comment sections in all of them since the update consists of petitions demanding Hextech chests be brought back, announcing it as boycotts, saying the change made the game feel less rewarding and too focused on monetization at the expense of actual play incentives. Riot was under fire, and their executives and CEO, Dylan Jadeja, was heavily criticized, with the community mostly placing the blame on them and their greed. Even professional teams and content creators joined the outcry and expressed their dismay to this change. Riot initially doubled down, but after a few weeks, the devs publicly acknowledged the mistake, candidly saying that removing chests hurt the player experience and did not land the way they intended. Riot reversed course and brought Hextech chests back in patch 25.05, letting players earn up to 10 chests per act, most from the free track of the Battle Pass, and some through positive honor rewards, while also adjusting other systems like champion costs to show they were listening. Even with the nerfed and reshaped version returning, the incident became one of Riot's most controversial updates in years. Diablo Immortal. Diablo Immortal launched as a mobile follow-up to one of gaming's most beloved RPG franchises, but almost immediately, players realized that while the core game was free to play, the real progression, especially late-game power, was heavily tied to how much money you were willing to spend. What Blizzard marketed as optional microtransactions quickly looked like pay-to-win mechanics that gave paying players a faster and bigger power advantage. At the heart of the issue were legendary gems, an item that provide huge stat boosts and passive effects that directly make characters stronger. You get these gems by running Elder Rifts, but if you want the best ones, you need legendary crests. Those crests can technically be earned for free, like from the Hilts Trader and the free Battle Pass tier. But the free method is slow, and buying eternal orbs with real money and using them to purchase crests progresses your account so much faster. That translates to higher damage, better survivability, and the ability to conquer in-game content much faster than a free-to-play player. That gap hurts even more in competitive PvP. For many veteran fans, this felt like a betrayal of what Diablo used to be. A loot chase built on skill, luck, and time invested, not your credit card balance. For free-to-play players, reaching level 60 takes around 20 to 30 hours of focused grinding, but trying to max out your Diablo Immortal character through free play alone would take years or even decades of time. For example, to get a full 5-star rank 20 gems, it takes an average free-to-play player 40 years to get them. For those willing to spend serious money to climb the power curve far faster, some estimate it'd take $100,000. Some estimate it'd take $540,000 if you include the Gem Awakening system. That design choice angered players. Metacritic user scores plummeted, streams and Reddit threads exploded, and Diablo Immortal became a flashpoint in the ongoing debate about microtransactions and monetization. Even the wealthiest of whales would get turned off by how blatantly predatory this whole game is. God damn.
NBA 2K. NBA 2K has long been one of the most popular basketball sims ever, but it's actually incredibly pay to win. Virtual currency, or VC, which is a paid currency within the game, is used for everything from upgrading your My Player in My Career to buying packs and cards in My Team. And players quickly notice that earning it naturally through play is painfully slow and inconsistent. In NBA 2K25, maxing out your My Career build to a 99 overall requires roughly 375,000 VC, which translates to about $100 or more in real-world VC purchases if you don't want to grind forever. That doesn't even account for cosmetic costs or mistakes. If you mess up your build, you're often pushed to buy even more VC to fix it, and it just feels like you're paying just to play the game properly. To make matters worse, the amount of VC you earn from actually playing has been repeatedly nerfed over successive releases, with players reporting much lower payouts for the same game time, most likely an intentional push towards spending rather than earning. The player base have labeled the monetization predatory and too greedy, pointing out that even after buying a full-priced game, the experience still hinges on either spending hundreds of dollars on VC or sinking hundreds of hours of playtime into grinding just to keep up. Some versions of the game have even featured unskippable in-game ads. It's a AAA game, for God's sake, and they're trying to squeeze the living heck out of it for every bit of penny. Don't forget it's an annual game. When 2K27 comes out, you won't be able to carry over your progress from 2K26 to the new game. The money-grubbing practices have gotten so bad that there's been multiple lawsuits against Take-Two and 2K over these practices, alleging unfair and even illegal monetization tactics, even claiming that the company effectively steals players' VC by wiping balances when older games' servers shut down. Crazy.
Escape from Tarkov. One of the most infamous greed-related moves in recent gaming came from Escape from Tarkov with the announcement of the Unheard edition. This edition included access to a PvE co-op mode, which was a long-requested mode, plus some powerful in-game advantages like extra stash space, higher starting skills, improved trader reputation, and perks that make AI enemies less likely to attack you at range. But the most ridiculous part of it all is the price. It's $250 for all the aforementioned perks. Fans who previously bought the Edge of Darkness edition, which was around $150, still pretty darn expensive, had a line in it that promised access to all future DLC and content. But it was found that the new PvE mode and perks were not included unless they paid the extra $250, essentially making them pay twice for what they thought was already covered. This move was labeled a pay-to-win cash grab, with many saying it betrayed player trust and violated expectations set by past promises. Part of the frustration stemmed from how the PvE mode works. Progression in that mode does not reset with wipes, meaning players who buy the Unheard edition can carry forward power and gear across sessions, while the base hardcore Tarkov experience regularly resets progress. That's a huge advantage in a game built around survival and progression, and many saw it as undermining the core design. Developers initially defended the pricing, saying the PvE mode wasn't DLC, but a unique feature of the new edition, wording that only fueled more backlash. After days of criticism, the studio apologized and adjusted access so Edge of Darkness owners could get the PvE mode without paying extra, but the Unheard edition remains on sale, and many players still feel burned by the original marketing.
Oblivion horse armor.
One of the very first examples of paid downloadable content on video games was when Bethesda charged real money for a piece of cosmetic horse armor inside the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. It cost around 200 marketplace points, which is about $2.50 USD, and all it did was let you dress up your in-game horse and make your horse harder to kill by giving it a slight health boost. To many players back then, that felt ridiculous. Here they were, having just bought a full-priced game, only to be asked to pay again for something that didn't change the core experience. No new quests, no story, just armor for your mount. Players still bought them anyway. Designers from Bethesda later admitted they were testing the waters for downloadable content and didn't realize how gamers would react, and even joked years later that people will buy anything, an acknowledgement of both the criticism and the fact that players actually did buy it in the millions. It's often credited as one of the first mainstream paid DLCs, and is retrospectively seen as the moment the industry began experimenting with monetization models that would later evolve into cosmetic packs, skin stores, and microtransactions across nearly every genre.
Plants vs. Zombies. Plants vs. Zombies started as a beloved, simple tower defense classic, a paid game with fair progression and no microtransactions, where strategy and skill mattered above all. But after EA acquired PopCap in 2011, the franchise began shifting toward a free-to-play, monetized model that many longtime fans felt fundamentally changed what they loved about it. That shift became most obvious with Plants vs. Zombies 2. Instead of being a straightforward paid sequel, PvZ2 was free with in-app purchases and paywalls, including some mechanics that felt like they were pushing players towards spending just to progress comfortably. At one point, the game even briefly required players to pay to restore lawnmowers after they were used, before the backlash forced the change to be removed. Over time, more plants and power-ups were locked behind real money purchases or premium currency, and many players reported ad prompts, locked content, and grinding loops that felt designed to funnel money rather than celebrate strategy. Classic plants from the original game like Snow Pea, Imitator, and Jalapeno were unusable for free-to-play players. Some community narratives also tied this shift back to the departure of the original creator, George Fan. After PopCap's acquisition by EA, Fan left the company during a round of layoffs. He later acknowledged he didn't agree with the freemium direction of the sequel, even if his exit wasn't directly tied to that disagreement. The contrast between the carefree, skill-based charm of the original and the heavily monetized sequel became a symbol of how monetization can erode player goodwill. The franchise still exists and evolves, but for a lot of players, the garden just doesn't feel the same. Apex Legends. Another example of greed by EA. What is it, the third time this video? Apex Legends was among the most popular free-to-play battle royale games ever, alongside the likes of Fortnite and PUBG. But as the years have gone by, a growing portion of the community feels profit has started to overshadow player experience. One of the most infamous examples came from the Iron Crown event, a limited collection of cosmetics released with a loot box-based system that forced players to buy dozens of Apex packs if they wanted all the exclusive items. With only 2 free packs available, players realized obtaining the full set could cost well over $150 or more, and the highly desired heirloom item pushed the total cost into the $170 range if you chased it through microtransactions alone. Respawn later apologized for how the event was monetized, admitting it missed the mark on a promise of fair monetization, but the backlash had already left a bad taste. Monetization complaints didn't stop there. Players have repeatedly blasted high skin prices, with some bundle price tags sparking outrage on Reddit and social media, calling EA the devil, and the events a cash grab shit show. More recently, updates like the Legend Spotlight Pass, a paid track costing around $10 just to access character challenges and rewards, sparked immediate backlash for locking progression behind another paywall. Charging money to do challenges didn't fare well with the players at all, and the move was labeled insanely greedy. When Apex Legends announced controversial changes to the Battle Pass system, splitting seasons into multiple paid passes, and reducing free options, Steam and community reaction did not hold back, with review bombing and players threatening to quit if pricing continued to prioritize monetization over value. For many, Apex's monetization has gone from understandable optional transactions to a series of decisions that feel more like a cash grab than a player-first free-to-play experience.